The relative position of the handle, the blade, and the tip. The sword's intended use dictates the handle alignment. If the purpose of the weapon is primarily thrusting, you want a central axis running through the handle to intersect with the tip, so the handle is aligned with the tip. If what you want is a percussive effect against armor, you want the handle to be aligned in the center of the blade. If what you want is to optimize slicing and chopping, you want the handle aligned near the spine. Now you will sometimes see mass production butterfly swords with a blade that says, "Hi, I'm a chopper," and a handle in the middle of the blade. That's just misdesign. It was not intended for percussive impact. Different handle types. The traditional handle type for butterfly swords was 2-in-1, inside flat, outside rounded. And as you may recall, to be defined as a butterfly sword originally, they had to have that half handle, so it would be 2-in-1 swords. Now, this warrior antique is comfortable. It's comfortable because these edges are not sharp. Unfortunately, some of the modern 2-in-1 butterfly swords have sharp edges. This is a very high quality sword, but unfortunately, these wood edges are pretty sharp and it becomes pretty uncomfortable, particularly if you hold it for very long. All they had to do was sand this. These edges are also very sharp. This is pretty much the generic Chinese D-guard, and the edges on these are not sharp. The edges on 2-in-1, oh, wait a sec. I almost forgot about these babies. This is your Chinese cheapo, and this edge is absolutely the sharpest of any of them. So, other than not buying swords with sharp 2-in-1 edges to begin with, one of the solutions martial artists have come up with is just taking tape and wrapping it around these handles until they can actually use them. This is a pair of 2-in-1 Moyat style swords that Model Design LLC did for everything Wing Chun. And one of the things EWC and Model Design made sure of was that they were comfortable handles even though they were 2-in-1. These are probably the nicest 2-in-1 handles because they're full tang, and we have gone to the trouble of really rounding that inside edge that might otherwise be sharp. All it takes is a little bit of thought and a little bit of care. On the other end of the spectrum are full width handles. This is about as full as you can get. See how wide that is? So a full handle is going to be more comfortable than a half handle. A half handle can be made sufficient so that it's adequately comfortable for use. The advantage of a half handle, you can hold 2 swords in one hand. With a really thick full handle, holding 2 swords in one hand becomes difficult, even dangerous. Now the full handles that are on the knives that we design for everything Wing Chun can be safely held in one hand, at least in my hand, and they're comfortable if you hold one knife in each hand. In between the full handles and the half handles, we have slimline handles. These are Winlam Enterprises, Combat Steel, Shaolin, butterfly swords. They're not actually made out of medium carbon steel, but that's how they advertise them. And if you look at this handle, you'll see that it's a full handle, but it's very slim, so you can comfortably hold both in one hand. This is a pair of truly low-quality Chinese butterfly swords, and it does have a full handle. It's a slim handle, so it's a slimline handle. Let's see if I can hold both in one hand. I can. Am I thrilled to be holding the sword? Was oval shaped, and it was straight. And that's a fairly comfortable handle. If you look at your hand, you're going to notice a number of things. There's a sort of hump here, and there's a sort of curve down here. So ideally, you would want a handle that accommodates that placement. See the belly on this? See how that accommodates my hand? You'll get the same thing with the traditional handle. Now, where you start running into an issue is that the curve you need on bottom and the curve you need on top to mate with your hand are slightly different. When you design a handle to be comfortable and low fatigue, that's called ergonomic design. One thing that Model Design LLC likes to do are ergonomic handles. The less effort you have to put into holding an uncomfortable handle, the less likely you are to drop the weapons, the more likely you are to be able to practice for a longer period of time. There are a variety of ergonomic handle designs used in Western knife making. One of the simple ones would be a handle that looks a heck of a lot like the handle on that traditional butterfly sword. Notice how this handle has a belly. This handle has indentations for your first two fingers. It actually doesn't fit the open hand, but it fits when you wear tactical gloves. I don't like to make a multi-finger indent on a handle unless I know the precise hand, because people's hands vary. Once you get past a single finger indent, you start running into problems. So let me show you some of the butterfly sword handles that are out there. This is that Crane's production sword, and as you can see, they have a finger indent. This is an example of a butterfly sword with indents for the first two fingers together. So it's not one indent for the first finger, one indent for the second finger, it's two fingers. They were custom made for me to my hand. I would certainly not put this out on the mass market because I doubt if it would fit anybody else's. This is the long stabber design from Model Design LLC. The handle is actually a straight handle because it doesn't angle down, and it's got that belly so that it fits the hand. It's very comfortable. This is an EWC flagship line D2 stabber. This handle has a belly. It also has an arch on top, and it fits very comfortably in your hand. One of the features about this particular handle is that it angles down. Now, a handle angling down does a couple of things. The first one is, if you actually have to go and use one of these weapons, and you need to stab, once the weapon gets up to a certain level, your hand starts to look pretty contorted, and it feels that way. It's not natural. And in fact, this is how my hand would naturally like to be. So couldn't I design a handle that would let me hold my hand in a more natural position when I go to stab? And the answer is yes, you angle the handle. When you angle the handle, not only is it more comfortable, but you also end up with more energy on your strikes. And how does that happen? Torque. With this angled handle, I end up getting more speed on the cutting edge, and that speed translates into additional energy. Angled handles are so deadly that in Ip Man's time they were outlawed in Hong Kong. And in fact, the Ergonomics, which we came out with at Model Design LLC in 2010, which had an angled handle, were very reminiscent of some outlawed Hong Kong weapons used in the black market. And no, I don't know whether or not they're still illegal in Hong Kong. Let's